Hey, how you doing? Welcome to another chapter of Comments from the Peanut Gallery. And continuing on the journey to Galilee, the Galilee Gathering. And I was going to put this off for later. I was putting it off for later, but I think it's important to identify now why I am absolutely positive that the 11 never made it to the Galilee Gathering. Okay? Why I'm absolutely positive that those of the 12 disciples, the closest to Jesus, why they did not get there, why they did not go. I'm going to start with the evidence first. Okay? In the Gospel of John, last two chapters, next to the last chapter, John identifies the first time Jesus appeared to the 11, because Judas had already hung himself. I don't include him with that no more. He was replaced by Matthias. Okay? Evening of the first day when Jesus rose from the dead, first day that evening, he appeared to him. And even though Mary Magdalene and possibly others had told them that they had seen Jesus alive and that they had spoken to him, they didn't believe her. And when they saw Jesus, when he appeared in their midst, they were in a locked building. I'm inclined to think that it was a stone barn with no windows and the doors were locked. Okay? But he appeared to them there, and they thought they saw a ghost. They didn't believe it was him. At that time, Thomas wasn't with him. Okay, then John continues on, and he identifies the second time that Jesus appeared to him. Very explicit, first time, second time. And, he says, this time Thomas was there. And he said, stretch forth thy hand, and okay, check out the nail holes in my hands. Check out the hole in my side, the scars that were there. They were healed, but there was obvious evidence that there had been severe trauma to those places on Jesus' body. Even though he was in a resurrected heaven suit at that time. The scars of the crucifixion, at least those were still there. Remember, it was prophesied by God and recorded, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered abroad. They were covenant wounds. He took the payment that we deserved, the death that we deserved, he took it upon himself, and it was done. He was offered up within the structure of the old covenant, the priests and all of that. He was offered up through that structure, and it was Almighty God. Okay, Almighty God. I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered abroad. That was the prophecy. That's what Almighty God did. Those are covenant wounds. Scars were still there. Okay, at that time, Thomas was there. So I'm supposing all 11, the 11 that were left, were there. And then, this is where I have a little suppose in how it was expressed, not whether it happened or not, how it was expressed by John, that they, the 11, never made it to the Galilee Gathering. I think what had happened was that Matthew and Mark were written. If you look at the Gospel of John, it appears that in the next to the last chapter, he's drawing to a close. He finishes his record of Okay? And it's drawing to a close, and it looks like it's all done in his record. And then he adds, he adds an addendum, a last chapter, something, but it's, for us, what we see is the last chapter of the Gospel of John. I think John saw what Matthew and Mark recorded, and even though they did not lie, they didn't lie, when they said that they went to Galilee and had the shore lunch. Okay, they were out in the boat all night, had caught nothing, close to shore. They see in the early morning hours, it's still dusk. They see Jesus, he sees them out in the boat, he knows they're there, okay. He knows who it is. And he says, have you caught anything? No. Okay, throw the net on the other side, 153 great fish, drag them to shore. Peter puts on his, who was it, John? One of them put on their robe, jumped in the water, swam to shore. They dragged the boat in. And even though it was 153 great fish, that's in the fish size of what's in that lake, that's close to between 1,500 and 2,000 pounds of fish in that net. So Matthew and Mark record of that. And it sort of makes it sound like they had gone to Galilee like they were supposed to. But remember, Jesus told them, the angels told them, Mary told them that he is gone to Galilee ahead of us. We need to get ourselves out there because he's going to be there. He might be there already. He's going to be there before we get there. That's what Jesus had said. That's what the angel said. And that's what Mary repeated to everybody that she told. So the thought of waiting a day or two or three or four, well, I'm going to kick back a little bit, have a snack, and then I'm going to go. That thought is absurd. You wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Anybody with a brain that wouldn't do it. Anybody that had any belief in what Jesus did and said would not have done that. So in the Gospel of John, John records that first time, evening of the first day of the resurrection. Again, 8 days later in the same place. This is where I think the meeting had closed. It was done. They hadn't left yet, but Jesus leaves the meeting and he just appears back. Remember, he's got his heaven suit. He's not restricted to an earth suit anymore. So he had been in Galilee and then goes to the guys, the disciples, the 11 that were still in the same place where they were 8 days later. That's when I think the meeting itself closed as far as it being where they were going to stay there. And that was the second time, again, recorded by John. Third time, John records, where they saw Jesus alive after the resurrection. And there is only 3 times mentioned, 3 times spoken of, where the 11 saw Jesus after the resurrection. The third time was on the shore where they caught Jesus told them, pitch the net on the other side. They brought in 153 great fish, okay, about a ton, between 1,500 and 2,000 pounds. Dragged that net to shore, and the stuff that transpires. And that is identified by John as the third time that the 11 saw Jesus on this earth alive after the resurrection. And there are no recorded more times where they saw him. But those are the 3. And that had to have been at least 10 days after the resurrection. 10 days, because it would have taken them 2 days to get to that place on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. Would have taken them 2 days So that puts it at least 10 days out after the resurrection. Okay? I know this might be a bunch for your brain to absorb, and your spirit self is going, yeah, he's telling the truth. My brain is bouncing off the walls, but what he's saying is true. I know it is. What does all of this mean? Well, for now, we'll leave it at that. Enjoy the journey.